This weekend, somewhere in the world, 100,000 people will pack into a stadium. They will paint their faces. They will wear matching colors. They will scream until their voices break over a ball being kicked across a patch of grass. You might be one of them. And if someone asked you why, you would probably say it is just entertainment, just a game. Something humans invented recently, once we had free time and floodlights and television deals. But the real answer is far stranger, because football, or something hauntingly close to it, is not a modern invention at all. Your ancestors were playing ball games thousands of years before the first stadium was ever built, before writing, before money, in some places before farming. And when scientists looked closely at why, they found something unsettling. The game was never really about the ball. It was about survival. It was about war. It was about keeping the peace. And the reason you scream at a screen today for strangers in matching shirts is buried deep in a brain that hasn't changed in 300,000 years. Let's go back. Picture the world 50,000 years ago. No cities. No borders. Just small bands of humans, maybe 30 or 40 people, moving across the land. They hunted, they gathered. And according to the anthropologists who study the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies on Earth, they played constantly. The psychologist Peter Gray spent years studying play in hunter-gatherer cultures, from the Juhuansi of southern Africa to the Batek of Malaysia. What he found surprised him. Play wasn't a break from life in these societies. It was woven into everything. Children played from morning until night, with almost no adult instruction. Adults played too. Games of chasing, catching, throwing, kicking. Games with sticks and stones and bundles of leaves tied into rough spheres. Now here's the first strange detail. A ball is not an obvious thing to invent. It has no edge. It has no handle. You cannot cut with it or dig with it or carry water in it. And yet balls appear in almost every human culture we have ever found. Leather balls stuffed with hair in ancient Egypt. Woven grass balls in the Pacific. Stitched hide balls on the American plains. It is as if humans everywhere, completely independently, looked at the world and decided they needed a round thing to throw at each other. Why? The Dutch historian Johan Huizinga had a theory. In 1938, he wrote a book called Homo Ludens, which means man the player. His argument was radical. He claimed that play is not something culture produced. Play came first. Play is older than culture itself because animals were playing long before humans existed. Wolf pups wrestle, dolphins chase, crows slide down snowy rooftops for no reason at all. Play, Huizinga argued, is one of the deepest things a brain can do, and human culture, including religion, law, and language, grew out of it. So when your ancestors kicked a bundle of hide across a clearing, they weren't inventing something new, they were doing something ancient. But then humans took it somewhere no other animal ever did. They gave the game rules. Travel to what is now southern Mexico, around 3,600 years ago. Archaeologists working at a site called Paso de la Amada uncovered something remarkable. A long, flat earthen court with sloping sides, built before almost anything else in the village. It is one of the oldest ball courts ever found. The people here played a game with a solid rubber ball, bounced off hips and forearms, centuries before the pyramids of the Maya rose. Over time, more than 1,000 of these courts spread across Mesoamerica. The ball game became sacred. It appeared in creation myths. Kings played it, and in some eras at some sites, the stakes were life and death itself. Think about that. A ball game so important that entire cities built arenas for it, thousands of years before anyone sold a ticket. And it wasn't just there. In ancient China during the Han Dynasty over 2,000 years ago, soldiers played a game called Cuju. Players kicked a leather ball stuffed with feathers into a small net using only their feet. No hands allowed. Military manuals recommended it as training. Emperors watched matches. FIFA itself recognizes Cuju as the earliest form of the game you now call football. In Australia, Aboriginal peoples played Marn Grook, a game where a ball made of possum skin was kicked high into the air, with players leaping over each other to catch it. Some historians believe it echoes in Australian rules football today. And across North America, indigenous nations played a game the Europeans would later call lacrosse. But listen to what some of those nations called it themselves. The Cherokee name for the game translates roughly to the little brother of war. That name is not poetry. It is a clue. Because these games were often played between rival communities, sometimes with hundreds of players, on fields stretching for miles, and they served a very specific purpose. They settled disputes. They released tension between groups that might otherwise have raided each other. Two communities could meet, compete, exhaust themselves, feast together afterward, and go home with their pride intact and their people alive. The game was diplomacy. The game was a pressure valve. The game was war, with the death removed. And this is where your own body enters the story. In 2004, the Harvard scientists Dennis Bramble and Daniel Lieberman published a famous paper in the journal Nature. They argued that the human body is not built for strength. It is built for running. Long, slow, relentless running. Your springy tendons, your sweat glands, your huge gluteal muscles, your ability to breathe independently of your stride. Almost no other animal on Earth can run for hours in the heat. You can. Your ancestors chased antelope until the antelope collapsed. Now ask yourself what football actually is. Running for 90 minutes in bursts and recoveries while tracking a moving object and predicting where it will go. It is a hunting simulation. Every skill on that pitch, the sprint, the anticipation, the pass into empty space where a teammate will arrive, is a skill your ancestors needed to eat. And the teamwork matters even more than the running. Humans are one of the only species that hunts in coordinated groups with assigned roles. One person flushes the animal, another cuts off its escape, another waits at the ambush point. Sound familiar? A striker making a run, a midfielder threading the pass, a defender holding the line. The positions on a football pitch are the positions of a hunting party, frozen in grass and chalk. So when you play, your body recognizes the game. It is doing the thing it was shaped for. But here's the twist. The part almost nobody talks about. When Peter Gray studied games among the most egalitarian hunter-gatherer bands, he noticed something missing: scores. In many of these societies, the games had no winners. People kept a ball in the air together. They took turns. They laughed when someone fell. Competition, the kind with rankings and champions and losers, was rare, and in some groups it was actively discouraged. Because in a band of 30 people who depend on each other completely, humiliating your neighbor today is a terrible idea. You may need him to share his meat tomorrow. Intense, organized, high-stakes competition seems to have exploded later when humans settled down, built surpluses, and formed groups too large for everyone to know everyone. Suddenly there were strangers. Suddenly there were rival villages, rival cities, rival kingdoms. And the friendly kickabout evolved into something else. A way for large groups of strangers to feel like one tribe. This is the machinery still running inside you. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar, famous for calculating that the human brain can only maintain about 150 real relationships, spent years studying what bonds groups larger than that. His research kept landing on the same answers: moving in synchrony, chanting together, sharing intense emotion at the same moment. These behaviors flood the brain with endorphins, the same chemicals released by laughter and touch, and they make strangers feel like kin. Now picture a stadium again, 50,000 people rising at the same instant, singing the same song, wearing the same colors, gasping together as the ball curls toward the goal. That is not entertainment. Chemically speaking, that is a bonding ritual older than cities. Your brain cannot tell the difference between your team and your tribe because for most of human history, there was no difference. The people who wore your colors were the people who would defend you, feed you, and bury you. That is why a loss can ruin your whole week. Nothing was taken from you, no resource, no territory, and yet your brain grieves like something real was lost because to the ancient machinery in your skull, something real was. Your tribe was defeated in front of the others. It also explains the strangest part of being a fan. You did nothing. You did not run or kick or save anything. But when your team wins, you say, "We won." Scientists call this basking in reflected glory, and studies have even found that fans' testosterone levels rise and fall with their team's results, as if their own status were on the line. Because in the ancient world it was. When your group's champion won, your whole group's standing rose with him. So what if ancient humans had football? They did. Not with this name, and not with these rules, but with the running, the teamwork, the rival villages, the roaring crowds, the sacred fields, and the feeling in your chest when the ball flies true. The game has been played in one form or another for as long as there have been humans with time to play it. What changed is only the scale. The village became a city. The clearing became a stadium. The rival band across the river became a club with a badge and an anthem. This weekend, somewhere in the world, 100,000 people will pack into a stadium, paint their faces, and scream over a ball being kicked across a patch of grass. And now you know they are not really watching a game. They are doing one of the oldest things a human being can do. They are running the ancient ritual. The hunt with no killing, the war with no dead, the tribe gathered at the field exactly as it always was. You never invented football. You inherited it.